I was perfectly happy with my simple system for years, and I still would be, but I screwed up. I really did screw up, and I stumbled into high-end audio face first. Was it a good thing? Well, yeah. I'm not kidding. I landed into the world of tube amps and speaker sensitivity and cartridge alignment and isolation completely by accident because of something I did that thrust me into that world. And before that accident, before I screwed up, I had no idea what a lot of those things meant or how they lent themselves to improving the vinyl record playback experience. I didn't know anything about speaker sensitivity, and I couldn't have picked a KT88 tube out of a lineup. I didn't even know what a KT88 tube was. And room treatment was something you did before selling a house. Life was simple. Really, really simple when it came to listening to music. So how did I screw up? Well, it all started because I wanted a simple and inexpensive speaker upgrade. Prior to that, my setup, the setup that I used for years, was an Audio-Technica LP60 turntable and just a pair of powered Edifier speakers. It's a great entry-level combination, and it always sounded amazing to me. I then went from the Audio-Technica to an AT-LP5, another Audio-Technica turntable, and eventually moved on to the U-Turn Custom Orbit that I used for a couple of years. They were all gradual changes and really nothing outrageous. I saved my money for each purchase, and I was happy with those purchases. The thing is, as I moved from turntable to turntable, I did a lot of research. So I would run across articles and reviews about, other gear like amplifiers and things. And, some of that seemed a little bit esoteric to me and maybe a little bit too much for what I needed or what I thought I needed. And one day, I decided to change my speakers. And again, I didn't want to spend a lot of money, so I did a ton of research. One thing that I knew I wanted is I wanted another set of powered speakers. They were easy. You didn't need much else. You didn't need an amplifier because I didn't even want to, get into that. I just wanted my simple setup of a turntable with a built-in preamp and powered speakers. It was a very plug-and-play system. After what seemed like months, I finally settled on purchasing a pair of Klipsch 51 PM speakers. They might have been around, 300 at the time. I don't exactly remember. So I saved my money and bought them. And I remember thinking when I actually clicked purchase that they were a little bit cheaper than I remembered, but I thought, great, maybe they went down in price. So when they finally showed up, I was all excited. I unboxed them, pulled out the speakers and thought, where the hell is the power cord? Did they forget to pack it? Well, no, they didn't forget to pack it. I accidentally purchased the Klipsch 51M speakers. I didn't know there was a difference between M and PM. Of course, the P stood for powered. And I remember being, a little bit pissed off that they would name the things so close, 51M, 51PM. It seemed like a mistake. But anyways, I made the mistake. That was on me. So I thought, what do I do? Do I send them back? And I didn't want to go through the hassle of sending them back. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll actually buy an amplifier, something that's not expensive, just something to power these speakers. And it might improve the sound. I don't know. I didn't know. So I talked to Mandy and we decided, it's not going to break our budget to buy an amplifier. So I did more research and ended up purchasing a Denon 600NE. Some folks whose opinion I respected really liked it, so I went for it. After setting it all up, I sat back and listened, and I was blown away. I had no idea that adding an amplifier to a setup with a pair of passive speakers would make such a difference in sound from what I had been listening to for years. I was absolutely stunned. And I shouldn't have been, but I was. I was naive with all of this. This was all new to me. And this is where it started, because I remember thinking, if an amplifier, one that wasn't expensive, could change or drastically change my sound the way it did, what else could I do? Little did I know that I had been infected, and the infection spread slowly. It was a few months later, maybe 6 months, and I said, maybe I want better speakers, something a little bit bigger. And that was these, the Klipsch 600 Mark IIs. So I was learning, and then things started to get out of hand. I thought, well, I keep reading that a built-in preamp isn't the way to go, so I should get an external phono stage. So I got a cheap one, and then I ended up buying another one, and then another one until I ended up with the Project Tube Box. It's a hybrid phono stage, and I loved it. And you know what that led to if you watch my channel or have been for a while? It led to tube rolling. That was another rabbit hole that I had no idea went as deep as it did and as expensive as it would get. Other obsessions and side tunnels I found myself, exploring was record cleaning, like what's the best homebrew solutions and what's the best process. It was something I continue to tweak to this very day. And then there's isolation. Probably the best purchase for the money I ever made was the turntable isolation shelf from Pangea Audio. Yes, it was a purchase. They didn't give this to me. And I don't make any money off talking about it whenever I have the chance, but I love to talk about it because it made such a huge difference. And then there's room treatment. The amount of thought and tweaking that you can do with a room is literally mind-blowing, and it never ends. And I keep learning pretty much every single day. When someone makes a comment on this channel, I learn something new. It's a constant, that's why I love doing this. It's a constant learning process. All because of an accidental speaker purchase I made, which led me to buying an amp, which led me to buying all of this. Do I ever regret it? Well, no. I do wish that I wasn't so focused on improving the sound as I have been, I would say the last year and a half, because it honestly does sap some of the enjoyment out of it. But it also led to me creating this channel, which I absolutely love doing. I love sharing what I learn along the way, and also I don't mind sharing the mistakes I make along the way. I'm learning as I go, and there are things that I believed when I was starting out that I look back on and I cringe. I should actually probably do a video on that someday, but if I talked about all of the mistakes and cringeworthy mistakes I've made or beliefs I've had, I could do an entire series on it. One of these days, I just should sit back and say, fuck it, and just enjoy the music and stop worrying about improving the sound. So where are those Klipsch 51Ms that I bought a few years ago that kicked this whole thing off? Well, I ended up giving it to a friend, and he was looking to upgrade his system, and they have a really good home now. And that Denon 600NE, well, that I recently gave to my brother. He's setting up his own listening room, and he's looking to start out. He himself just had a turntable and a set of powered speakers that I had given him as a gift, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago. And he's just now looking to expand that a bit. So he inherited my Denon. That amp has a long life ahead of it, and I couldn't be happier it stayed in the family. And really, that's about it. If you found any of this information helpful or just want to comment and say hi, please do so. Like and subscribe. That always helps the channel. And if you're interested, I have a newsletter that comes out weekly. It comes out on Saturdays. I usually have an article in it that's sometimes a bit more personal, but it's always talking about the vinyl playback experience. So I'll put a link in the description for that. And until next time, thank you so much for being here. I'll see you soon, and enjoy your records. Take care.